If you've ever shown up to formation in the wrong uniform, go and hit the subscribe button. If it's ever happened in any other type of business function, or not even formation, just some type of exercise and you've done it, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, all that stuff helps me out quite a bit. We're not going to touch the comment section. Love you guys. So, if you guys are looking to support me, there are a couple ways. Right now we're out of belts. We are currently ramping up production, but if you want a sick t-shirt, that again shows you and other people that you love firearms and are really afraid of girls. Not your mom though. Go ahead and buy one of those t-shirts. If you're looking for ammo, freedom munitions, discount code is Garand. Get you 5% off and get you some more ammo so you can get some more trigger time. So the pistol that we're going to talk about today is going to be one that you guys have asked me about all the time and that has kind of gained a lot of popularity recently, and that's going to be the Roland Special type of build. So what the hell is a Roland Special and why would you do it? All excellent questions, and hopefully I'll get to answer all of them for you guys. So first off, the kind of idea of adding a comp light to a gun and all that kind of stuff in a combination, that's not new. These types of builds have been around for a long time, prior to it ever being named the Roland Special. But we're going to refer to it as the Roland Special just because that's what everybody knows it as nowadays. The name kind of took hold, and it really got popularized after a couple of individuals in the know and who were working some pretty cool jobs posted about their builds on a forum known as Primary and Secondary. So there's some good guys over there, and they kind of talked about pioneering this build and using it in kind of a more duty use and duty setup. What specifically is it? So we have a Glock 19. What we do is we have that Glock 19 and we send it off to ATEI. Now there are other custom milling companies and custom Glock work companies, but ATEI is kind of the classic Roland Special build company. What they'll do is they'll do some modifications to both your frame and your slide. Some of those modifications include mag wells, front slide serrations, different triggers, that type of stuff, RMR milling, all that good stuff to get everything that you want, and they do an extremely good job at what they do. So if you end up getting your Glock done through them, rest assured you'll be happy with the outcome. Now, my particular build was not done through them. My particular build was done through Landers Weapon Systems when it comes to my frame. My slide was done a long time ago by a now defunct company. But in any case, it's fairly close. Not a real Roland Special, so we're going to say Roland Special. Not exactly the real thing, but very close, and I think I can still speak to it somewhat. So on this particular build, I have around 12,000 rounds right now. On a couple of other builds that are kind of Roland Special-ish, I have about another 6,000 rounds as of today. So let's talk about it. Now, besides the frame and the slide work, we have a KKM barrel and comp. So why would you put a comp on the end of the gun? It kind of looks ridiculous. It looks like a little elephant trunk coming out the end there. Well, it comes down to kind of the linchpin, which I think is the Surefire X300 U. If you're in a position in your job or whatever you do, and you require to get some crazy beams, well, look no further than the Surefire X300 U, which puts out quite a bit. There's not a whole lot of weapon lights that beat it. Now, I do know that Streamlight is quite good, but the Surefire X300 U kind of has the reputation of being a very durable and very reliable weapon light. In any case, when you have a Surefire X300 U on this gun, you have a lot of light sticking out past the barrel. So if you put this in a holster, you're still going to have all that length for a Surefire X300 U, and you're just going to have a bunch of extra space past the 19. So the thought process was, we should do something with that. We should put something there because we have the room to do so. So some enterprising individuals thought that it would be a good idea to put a compensator on the end of their Glock. Pure insanity, right? So how does it work? Well, how a comp works is it's going to direct gas and all that kind of unburnt powder as it explodes at the end of the barrel, and it's going to redirect it out and up. That has a couple benefits. First off, these guns shoot very, very flat with the comp on them. Now, some people have hopped on my Instagram or YouTube channel or something like that, and they've been like, wow, what a Nancy, you have a comp on a 9mm. It's not like 9mm recoil really hard, why don't you man up? Well, I see where you're coming from, but it's not good logic because 5.56 is a really light recoiling round. Why do you need a muzzle device on there except for flash suppression? Why do guys put comps on 5.56 rifles? And the answer is that if we can tame an already tame round and make it that much easier to shoot, why not? It's kind of the thought process with the comp on the end of the Glock 19. But besides kind of those two factors, and also it does keep all that powder from burning onto the end of the light, so it keeps it operational for a much longer period of time. There are a couple problems with the comps. So when you run a comp, you need a lot of power to run that comp. So what I'm saying is, with a stock recoil spring on a Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, it's just not going to run very reliably with kind of underpowered ammo. So if you're buying a lot of reloads from reloading companies and that type of thing, it's probably weaker ammo, and in that case, it's not going to run the gun. That's been my experience. That's been a lot of people's experience. Now, if you're running factory ammo like Blazer or Federal, any of that type of stuff, it's probably going to run it for the most part. 124 grain seems to be kind of the sweet spot for the Roland Special. But again, that kind of comes down to the gun, kind of how worn in the recoil spring is and that type of stuff. Now, in reality, where the Roland Special really shines is when you are firing full power, kind of plus P NATO spec ammo through this thing. That's when it really comes into its own. That's when it's really controlling that recoil, really running that gun really well. So that's what I'd recommend with the Roland Special. Now, if you can't run that type of ammo, you can always go down to a lighter recoil spring. Now, on a Gen 4, Gen 5, you're going to have to buy some type of adapter that allows you to run lesser powered recoil springs. And there's a couple of those out there from Wolf and some other companies. I'm actually running a reduced power on this particular build just kind of to show you guys. So they do work. The problem that you can run into is if you're getting a lot of dust and grime, you're in some class and you're just getting mud all over this gun, there's a greater chance that mud's going to gum up the gun, because a 13-pound recoil spring on a Glock doesn't have nearly as much oomph as the stock recoil springs do. So that might be something to think about. So that's why, for the most part, I just recommend sticking with the stock and firing that powerful NATO spec ammo. And I know that can be a problem for some people when it comes to money. And if money's an issue, just stick to a stock Glock and just shoot a bunch of ammo. Really, all this stuff doesn't make you a good shooter. What makes you a good shooter is shooting. So don't waste your money unless you already have the money and you're kind of a proficient shooter and you want to kind of see what you can do when you stretch your legs with some different equipment. Another thing to note, it would be that some people are worried that the flash from that comp might blind them when they're doing night shooting. It's a good question, first off. So I haven't noticed that being a problem. There's really not a whole lot. It's still a 9mm, even when you're firing plus P ammunition. So it's not so much an issue that I've seen where I'm getting blinded by it or anything like that. The second one is going to be firing under night vision, and perhaps that flash being a lot more stout than a typical Glock 19 and kind of whitening out the night vision more and all that type of stuff thing. I haven't seen that as an issue either. It seems just about the same to me as a normal Glock 19. So don't worry about those so much, but it is still a valid point to bring up and talk about. The comp definitely has its place. So that's a good thing about the comp. Also, the KKM barrels are bar none amazing. Superb accuracy, all that kind of stuff. You guys will be very pleased with the KKM barrels. Moving up from the KKM, all that kind of stuff, we have the Trijicon RMR. Typical RMR use is the RM06. Now that depends. The problem with the RM06 is it's LED. Now with the newer Type 2 RMRs, you don't have kind of the problems that the Type 1s had, which is this one right here. So I would definitely recommend one of the newer RMRs than the older RMRs. Definitely get some type of a manual adjustment. The automatic adjustment on some of the other LED RMRs I don't think works so well in a lot of the situations, so I prefer that manual adjustment. But again, everybody's different. Besides that, I have a Mera suppressor height sights. That's kind of the go-to, just so you can co-witness through the optic in case that optic goes down or something like that. Typically on your Roland Special type guns, you're going to have some type of magwell. I don't have that on mine. They definitely can help, but I like to conceal carry this in different configurations, so I don't like the magwell because it kind of sticks out just a little bit more. But that is always an option. Another thing is going to be the undercut. I'm a big fan of the undercut on the Glocks. Kind of allows me to get a better grip. I had a guy once tell me that is not what an undercut was for. So if that guy would like to hop on and tell me what the undercut is for, I am always happy to be schooled in knowledge if I am wrong. So that is kind of the classic Roland Special build. So besides that, technology, of course, has marched on and things have changed a little bit. So let's talk about perhaps a newer build that utilizes some different components that I think in some way or another has improved upon the Roland Special type build. So this is a build that I've been working on and experimenting with. This one has around 7,000 rounds on it as of today. So let's talk about it. First off, the slide is done by Landers Weapon Systems. Huge fan of them. The comp and the barrel, different. They're not KKM. The barrel is a Silencer Co. And the comp is a Texas Black Rifle Company mini comp. So the Texas Black Rifle Company mini comp is a lot lighter and also a little bit shorter than the typical KKM comp. I find that I actually like the recoil impulse from the Texas Black Rifle Company comp a little bit more than the KKM, but again, that kind of comes down to personal preference, so don't let me kind of color your thinking on that type of thing, because everybody's going to be different based on body mechanics. That's why, you know, you look at guys in, you know, all these special forces groups, everybody has their rifle set up a little bit different, because there's not kind of a one size fits all if you really want to kind of get the most out of your shooting ability. So just be aware of that. Let's see here. So same thing with the KKM comp. You still need to run, you know, powerful ammo through this to make sure it cycles. If you're not, you can go to the reduced power, but I'm not a huge fan of doing that. There are other barrels that will accept the Texas Black Rifle Company comp. It's just a standard threads, all that type of stuff for like suppressors and that type of thing for 9mm. So it works really well. The one thing that I have changed, of course, is going to be the optic. I'm a big fan of the Leupold Delta Point, which is the optic that I have on this build right now. I find that it's a lot easier to pick up the dot. It's a large window. I'm a much bigger fan of the Leupold Delta Point than I am of the Trijicon RMR. I know some people like the RMR more, but I like the large clear glass of the Leupold Delta Point, so let that be known. I haven't changed out the sights on these yet. I'm in the process of swapping them out, but I'll likely get something that can co-witness. But again, when you do, it gets quite tall. So we've talked a little bit about the Roland Special type builds. A couple different holsters that will work for them. When you add a comp, you essentially get a weapon that's about the same size as a Glock 34. Quick note, some people like the Glock 34's recoil impulse a lot more than a 19 with a comp. What that comes down to for me personally is, one, do I need it? Do I have an optic on my weapon? If I have an optic, I'm going to opt for the shorter gun, the 19, because sight radius isn't so much an issue. If I'm running iron sights, then the 34 is a better option because you have a longer sight radius. And again, as far as the recoil impulse, which one you like more, that kind of is going to come down to personal preference, and I can't answer that question for you. That's going to be up to you. Finally, let's talk about holsters for the Roland Special. So, because these typically fit holsters designed for a Glock 34 due to the length, the Safariland 6354 DO, one of my favorite holsters, this one designed for the Glock 34, will of course fit the Roland Special pretty well. Some people with the older models have a problem with it locking in, and you might need to do some holster modifications to make it work, just so you're aware of that type of thing. On this holster, I have the Oregon Trail Defense nub mod. Just allows you to kind of activate that ALS switch a little bit easier on these weapons. Big fan of it. Besides that, you of course have the T-Rex Arms Ragnaroks. Big fan of his holsters. Here's my older one right here. They both work with the Roland Special type builds. And when it comes to concealed carry, you of course have the T-Rex Arms Sidecar, which will also fit the Roland Special type builds and all that type of stuff. There are other holster companies that make holsters for Roland Special type builds, but as you know, I'm a huge fan of both Safariland and T-Rex Arms, so those are my recommendations right off the bat, the ones that I am most familiar with and most comfortable recommending at this time. And that kind of wraps it up from the Roland Special. You have kind of a very interesting design, very flat shooting. Of course, you have a couple little quirks when it comes to the Roland Special. For the most part, I'm running just a non-comped barrel on most of my guns because that's what I've just found that I like for the most part. But if you're the type of guy who wants to run a comp, wants to try it out, maybe give it a shot. So as we know, what matters most is looking cool. The Roland Special undoubtedly looks cool. Looks like something Boba Fett or Han Solo would carry. However, you're only going to look cool if you get training. So get training. Otherwise, none of this matters. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week. If there's anything I could tell you guys, it would be to cook. Learn how to cook. One, presses girls. Two, it's going to make you healthier and more swole and all that kind of stuff. Because when you cook, you're going to learn how to cook with fresh ingredients. That means that you're getting more nutrients into your body. That means that you're going to be healthier, more confident, all that kind of stuff. You'll thank me later, but please learn how to cook. It really matters.